So let's review the pattern strings by Ben Osterhouse. Hello there, this is Sam with Second Tier Sound. Really nice to see you here. If you didn't know already, I create videos on how to work within a DAW, how to orchestrate, and also some library reviews now and then. If that interests you, you can always hit the subscribe button to get more videos like this one. Anyway, let's get on with today's review, which is the library called Pattern Strings by Ben Osterhouse. A great little library that really solves a lot of difficult issues when you work with string libraries. So, why do you need this library? Well, let's take a look at a quick example. Let's start with a fairly good string library and let's create some repeating patterns. And let's clean that up just a bit. We need to work on the velocity. We need to work on the articulation. This one is controlled by the mod wheel, so let's do that. And let's see. That's pretty okay. That's a good sounding library. But let's mute this and let's try this other library and see if we can do better. Let's just load in the pattern we want and let's record from the start. And we're done. Let's look over the whole interface so you understand exactly how it works and how it might be useful to you. So when you load it up, you will see that it's already having this simple pattern here. And if you hit any key, it will loop. You can also play chords. And so on. And then you could obviously just load your own patterns by dragging or moving around or taking away, anything like that. It's very, very simple. Let's start over with this initial pattern here. And if we hit this key here, you might notice that it's quite a thick sound. It sounds good, but it's thick. And why is that? Well, that is because, as you see, 4 instruments are loaded. And depending on the range, if they can play that note, they will. So if I play a very low note, it will be only the cello and bass. If I play very high, it will be viola or just violin. Right, so in this case, I think most instruments, at least 3 of them, can reach that note. If you don't want that thicker sound, you can then unload instruments you don't want. And this might be a good thing, actually. The good thing about having all of them is that it's easier to work with, to get your ideas out. You can even play big chords, stuff like that. But let's just try the violin, for example, here. Sounds a little bit more realistic that way, not so thick. And if you unclick double, if you have headphones on, you will hear that this is closer to the real sound, more realistic, more detailed. The double is sort of a widening stereo effect. I don't know how Ben did this, but most of the times you have 2 instruments that are panned to the left and the right to create a wider sound. It's almost like a mic position in a way. But let's try something else. We'll do clear and we'll load in this pattern here. That's nice. So let's say you don't just want repeated notes. You actually want to have a melody in this figure. Maybe different notes on each note. Could try to play that, but if you notice, it doesn't really work. It doesn't follow exactly the rhythm I have here. And that is because each time I hit a new key, the whole rhythm is triggered again, which can be quite cool, actually. If I hit random keys at different times, you will hear that all those rhythms are triggered exactly when I hit the key, so I can create interesting sound landscapes there. But let's go back to just this rhythm here. And if I don't want them to trigger differently, I click legato. And then no matter when I hit the key, it will follow the rhythm. The first note might be off, but then it syncs itself to the correct rhythm. And this also helps you with melodies. You see? So in order to do that correctly, I recommend you program it. It's quite hard to play. And I also recommend that you quantize it. So let's try this. Now, it might not have sounded good immediately there. So let's go and fix this. Yeah, I quantized both the beginnings and the ends. And I recommend you do that actually. Let's try it. But you notice it still doesn't follow the rhythm, and that is because these notes need to overlap in order for the legato to be triggered. And then it works. Now, every library is different here, and that's why I always recommend you to learn your libraries so you know these things. So in this case, in most contact libraries, you have to overlap the notes in order for the legato to be triggered. In some libraries, that's not the case. The cool thing about this is that it's quite easy to then just drag to another spot, and you can then create music very quickly. You can obviously change all these notes any way you like. And it's just a great way to pick a pattern you like and then just play the notes you want or program them in, and you have music very quickly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more what you can do here. Well, we have random, which is fun. You click that, and then you just get a random phrase here. Get a lot of variation there, and you can just click random again to get another one. Well, let's say you want to say one of these phrases so you can use it again. You can click map and then click on one of the keys down here. Now it's recorded. Let's do another one. Random, map, and I record it to that one down here on my keyboard. If you don't have a very large keyboard, you can use your octave buttons to reach those notes, because unfortunately you can't remap those buttons. So see, now I can switch with my keyboard here. So let's talk a little bit about pattern 2 and why there are 2 patterns. Let's load random twice and just play with one key here. It might not be so easy to hear the differences between these phrases because it's the same note and sometimes they overlap and sometimes it's the same rhythm. So a recommendation here, or a tip rather, is that you maybe use the pattern to an octave lower or higher. In this case, we're going to try lower and also use the panning. So maybe left pan here and right pan here. Let's try this again. It's too low there, so it doesn't work. So let's go a little bit higher. Right. I wouldn't recommend to do chords here because it becomes too thick. The voicing doesn't really lend itself. You can always try, obviously. It might work. But you have to remember that each note you hit is actually 2 notes. So you get double the voicing. So something worth to consider. And other thing that is interesting is the auto release. And what it does basically is that it smooths out when you lift the keys. So I lift the hand and you still hear the last rhythm trail off nicely. This can be good if, you don't want that abrupt cutoff when you hit the keys. But I've also noticed that if you quantize the ends as the beginning is in when you work with the key editor, you don't have that problem. So auto release is good if you just want to play quickly and you don't want to worry about the ends and you want to lift your hands. Sometimes finds that it plays longer than I wanted it to. Depends on the rhythm, obviously. So you have to experiment. Then you also have the tempo sync, so you can obviously double the tempo and half the tempo, which is very good. Maybe you have a very slow tempo or a very fast tempo and it doesn't fit. But still, you have to do it within reason. When it's too fast or too slow, you hear it. It doesn't sound good. But you can still use it as a sound design tool if you wanted to. But that's pretty much the interface. So hopefully you know by now if this is an instrument for you or not. Personally, I really like it. I really recommend it. Perhaps I'm a little bit biased. I know Ben has been on my podcast and I really enjoy his other instruments as well. I do want to say though that this is not a complete string library. It is a specific library solving certain issues that are difficult to do with normal libraries. My own gripe is that I lack some rhythms, specifically eighth notes. I know you can't please everybody and have all the rhythms that are there. It's a pretty good setup, but eighth notes would have been great. I also find that it's sometimes a little bit tricky to get exactly the way you want, specifically when you have different notes in the rhythm. That can be tricky to get right. But otherwise, this is a great recommend, and I hope to see more interesting libraries from Ben in the future. So that's it for this time. If you like my videos and you like these kinds of reviews, then make sure to hit that like button and perhaps even subscribe so you can get more of these videos. Also, I want to mention again that I'm not sponsored by Ben or by Plugin Boutique, but if you are interested in this plugin and if you want to purchase it, you can always hit that affiliate link below and it will support me a bit as well. Otherwise, other ways supporting me is to watch more videos and even become a patron if you like. So that's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you soon. Take care.